What's shaking, y'all? Welcome back to Validate with Kate. Okay, so recap. Last I talked about was emotional regulation, which is calming your body and your behavior and pulling yourself out of emotion mind so that you can tap into reasonable mind and go into wise mind. Emotion regulation skills are strong, but get as much sleep as you need. You take your medication and take care of yourself when you're sick. You resist any vices like alcohol or street drugs. Once a day, do something that gives you a feeling of being in control or mastering your world. Eat right. Have a balanced diet. Don't overeat or undereat. Keep your blood sugar balanced. And then get exercise. Get exercise. Try to do 20 minutes a day. Research shows that exercise helps people improve their mood. Also, emotion regulation simply is being in touch with your emotions. The core emotions being wired in us since birth. And those core emotions being... Let's see, where'd they go? Anger, sorrow, joy, fear, disgust, guilt, shame, interest, and surprise. Okay, so I had mentioned that the best source for a child to learn emotional regulation are their adults, the adults around them. It truly is a nurtured, learned behavior. It helps when it is backed up by your environment. Okay, so emotional regulation is important, and so that adults can be the emotional regulators for their kids and themselves, distress tolerance comes into play. Because I know a lot of us, as we become adults, the stresses of life, some of us just don't know how to deal with them very well. So, this is where self-care comes in. Self-care is basically distress tolerance. Distress tolerance are crisis survival strategies, basically. So it's for those moments where you find yourself getting so emotional and worked up and just like in that place where you do not know where to begin regulating your emotions. That's when you need to ground yourself. You need to bring yourself back to the present. And so to do that, my favorite, and honestly the first one my therapist ever did with me, acronym is called ACCEPTS, ACCEPTS, and A being activities, the first C being contributing, or getting your mind off yourself. Comparisons is the second C, so it's like it could be worse. You know, what am I blessed with? What do I have going for me? Emotions is E, or do something that makes you feel the opposite. Pushing away, block out thoughts and feelings. Container them. If you're doing DBT with your therapist or something, you usually, I talked with my therapist about containering. Thoughts, distract your thoughts, do a crossword, do Sudokus, do those, any kind of puzzles to kind of get your brain off of whatever it is that could be distracting you. And then S is senses. Be aware of your senses. what do you smell? What can you see? What can you taste? What can you feel? And honestly, the distress tolerance goes deeper. Another is just self-soothe the five senses. I have a distress tolerance kit. I think I've mentioned it before, but I have like my essential oils. I usually have like a drink or a snack or something that I enjoy tasting. And then I have like a fidget cube or spinner or something to do. Tactile. So yeah, I mean, I have like an album on my phone of pictures of my kids and stuff that I just like to look at and kind of like help me kind of relax and come back to the present and out of the emotion mind. So again, that first acronym was ACCEPT, ACCEPTS. It's one of my favorites. It's one of the first ones I was introduced to, and one that's really helped me. Another one is improve. So improve the moment, and improve is the acronym. So I imagine. So like imagine better times, better things, success, get back into that positive thinking frame of mind. M, meaning, find one useful thing about the situation for you. Find one thing you can validate about the situation. P is prayer. Find some quiet place inside of you. Be your safe space. R, relaxation, quiet your body. This is obviously where the distress tolerance helps you get into the emotional regulation. One thing at a time. That's what mindfulness is just taking it one thing at a time. One mindful in the moment. Vacation. Go someplace in your mind or take time out. Go to a different room. Step outside. Distract yourself with a book or something. Go somewhere else. And then E is encouragement. Tell yourself it's going to be okay. Encourage yourself. Validate yourself. It really is just self-soothing. Distress tolerance, you know. Again, the best way to teach kids these skills are to demonstrate them and use them. You know, remind ourselves that, oh my gosh, everyone gets frustrated. The kids are going to get frustrated. Put yourselves in their shoes. You know, think about how old are they? How old are you? You know, it goes both ways. Yeah, emotions. It's so important to be able to tolerate stress and just because no matter where you go in life, there's always going to be stressors. There will always be people who aren't as emotionally mature and who just don't get what's so wrong with their behavior. And it's disappointing and it's frustrating. But that's why our distress tolerance is important and why it's important for us to work on ourselves. So moving on, I mean, another really good distress tolerance technique that I really like, and it's really simple, and I love it a lot, and it's half smiling, and it's simply doing it. You know, one of them is just like start your day with a half smile. When you wake up in the morning, half smile. Like think of even if you have, just think of something to make yourself smile. Half smile, just any chance you think of it, you have time to yourself, smile. Half smile while you're listening to music. Half smile while you're irritated. This is a big one for me. This is one when I kept remembering it and I actually started practicing it, it's helped my distress tolerance tremendously. And so just continuing. Another one is urge management. So when those urges to go to those coping mechanisms that might not be so healthy, that those distractions that keep you from actually processing the feelings, rate the intensity of the urge from 0 to 10. Invoke the 15-minute rule and set the timer. So actually, I have done this. Anytime I thought I wanted a cigarette for whatever reason, I'd be like, okay, hang on. Is it because I'm bored? Is it because I'm just, stressed about one thing? What's going on here? I started a 15-minute timer, and then I'd go into, accepts and just find something to distract myself and, push away that thought. Distract myself, find an activity, find a puzzle, whatever. And then when the timer goes back, check on the urge intensity. Is it even there? Has it lessened? Has it gotten more, has it gotten more intense? If it's still there, go back to the 15-minute rule, set the 15-minute again, and then come back. And if the intensity, the urge is down, then just keep going about your day. Another really good and just simple and very important exercise is breathing. And this kind of goes to, I asked about other topics that people would like to address. And one of them, my friend said, what about self-care for people in healthcare? It's what can they do to take care of themselves in such a high stress, high intensity, demanding career? And breathing is really one of the best. It's one of those things where if you need it, step into a dark room, go into a supply closet, go into a med room, go into the bathroom, go wherever you can, turn the lights off, be alone for a minute or 5, and just be with yourself and focus on your breath. And just take however much time you have, at least 5 deep breaths. In one way, if you can, lie on your back and breathe evenly and gently, just focusing your attention on the movement of your chest and your stomach at the same time, and just focus on really inflating basically your whole core. If you don't have a place to lay down, you can walk, pace back and forth, and you breathe counting footsteps. So continue for a few minutes. Begin to lengthen your exhalation by 1 step. So walk slowly in a yard, along a sidewalk, or on a path. Breathe normally. Determine the length of your breath, the exhalation, and the inhalation by the number of your footsteps. So determine a number of footsteps you want your breath to be, and then just walk it and do it. And just focusing on that. But basically, it's just something to kind of bring you back to the present moment and stay in yourself. Stay connected with yourself. Following your breath while listening to music is another really good one. Kind of like with the half smile. You know, honestly, put on a song, let yourself sit with it, and just breathe and half smile at the same time. And it's like ultimate distress tolerance. You know, make sure it's a song that is happy and, you know, whatever you can tolerate at the time. I mean, it's accepting reality and having an awareness is what distress tolerance is. I mean, all of these practices of distress tolerance, emotion regulation, validation, being dialectical, it's all so that we can come to the end goal of being just mindful and aware, self-aware, and having the compassion and empathy for other people. You know, we are wired for connection. We are wired for community. But we also need to learn how to take care of ourselves and be connected with ourselves and take care of ourselves, and that it's second nature. So then it all, even for a lot of us, for me, I mean, it really did boil down to radical acceptance of things that I was not able to let go. For example, I am a recovering perfectionist, basically. Recovering codependent. I'm a recovering cynic. I am just learning to accept myself and that it is not about fitting in. It is about finding where I belong. And if that's making a niche for myself, that's basically just finding that for myself. And radical acceptance is everything is as it should be and everything is as it is. Radical acceptance is freedom from suffering. Acceptance requires, freedom from suffering requires acceptance from deep within of what is. Let yourself go completely with what is. Let go of fighting reality. I don't want to. Acceptance is the only way out of hell. Pain creates suffering only when you refuse to accept the pain. Acceptance is acknowledging what is. To accept something is not the same as judging that it is good or approving of it. And acceptance is turning my suffering into pain that I can endure. Acceptance is validation. Again, it is not agreeing with something or approving of it, or, it's not saying something's good. Acceptance of reality as it is requires an active choice, so you have to choose to accept. So again, that's why it really boils down to you and doing the self-work. It is like coming to a fork in the road. You have to turn your mind towards the acceptance road and away from the rejecting reality. You have to make an inner commitment to accept. The commitment to accept does not itself equal acceptance. It just turns you toward the path. That is the first step. You have to turn your mind and commit to acceptance over and over again. Sometimes you have to make the commitment many times in the space of a few minutes. This is where you really have to let go of the cognitive distortion of, all of the cognitive distortions. I mean, this is why it's important to go over them and recognize them and become aware of them in your own life. I mean, the cognitive distortions, especially of just that mental filter where you pick one single negative detail and you just go over it over and over again, and it keeps you from being able to turn your mind and radically accept. You know, and also it's just a practice of going back, trying out the new skills. If you find yourself getting drawn back into the old practices of the all or nothing thinking, the overgeneralizing, the disqualifying of the positive, you know, when you find yourself going back into those cognitive distortions, recognize it. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Just acknowledge it and move on, and like go about it and get back to what you were doing originally. It's on the correct path, the path you want to be on. Yeah, emotional regulation and distress tolerance are important, are huge, are the stepping stones to mindfulness. I mean, they all work together to create that balance that we need to live a happy life. But anyway, so again, the important thing is love yourselves, love each other, support each other, take care of yourselves, do the self-care, practice distress tolerance. And also I'm going to leave just this quote. It's really good, and it's just something to kind of, just some brain food, and kind of goes with what I've touched on. But it's by him. I'm going to butcher his last name, but Junot. They are a child psychologist. And they said, I have come to the frightening conclusion. It is my personal approach that creates the climate. It is my daily mood that makes the weather. As a teacher, and I like to say as an adult, I possess tremendous power to make a child's life miserable or joyous. I can be a tool of torture or an instrument of inspiration. I can humiliate or humor, hurt or heal. In all situations, it is my response that decides whether a crisis will be escalated or de-escalated, and a child humanized or dehumanized. So again, that just goes with how important emotion regulation truly is to break cycles and stigmas, and because hate is taught. Hate for other people is definitely nurtured and groomed. I can't wrap my head around why. Anyway, so again, love each other, love yourselves. I love ya. Take it easy.